There's some people that I've met in my relatively short life that when you initially meet them, you realize that they automatically have a passion for what they do. And the next speaker, I can honestly say I just met a few weeks ago. And I was thrilled to meet her. She seemed like a wonderful person. Other people had told me that she's a wonderful person. And I'm here to introduce Miss Toni Nixon. Without further ado, here she is.
Oh, good. And this side?
The right. Yeah.
The right side. I hope I'm a nice person. I'll try to be tonight. Change your mind. Okay. Well, let's see if we can do that. How come I didn't change my slide? That's a problem. Oh, there it is. So why should you do that? You might think your life is working great, you have no hassles, you're really an open-minded person, you get along with people in your family and your community. So why should you even entertain this idea of changing your mind? Well, we'll find out. Why you should change your mind? Basically, we all have very entrenched beliefs about how the world is. You may not know that, because our beliefs and our judgments and our opinions are so embedded, they're so much a part of the lens through which we see the world, that you might not even be aware of the fact that you're pretty much right about what you think and how you live your life. And if you doubt that, just try having a conversation with somebody who believes something different than you do. Talk to them about politics. Talk to them about religion, about gun control. How about Medicare and health care? And you'll see real fast that, gee, you really do have some really strong opinions about things. And not only that, but you may walk away from the conversation feeling like, that person was a jerk, I really know what I'm talking about, and they certainly don't. So, and even if it's subtle, you know, even if you think, oh, well, that was a good idea, you don't believe it. You don't believe it at all. So why change your mind? What happens is, when we have rigid points of view, when we have a way that we view the world and the way that we think we're right, and again, it could be really under the surface, but when you're moving around through the world that way, it really, again, reinforces the notion that you're right and that your worldview is correct. And we learn about our worldview with, you know, lots of practice. We learn through our families, through our life experience, through our culture, which is probably the most subtle lens through which we look, which we see. You know, does anybody doubt the rugged individualist American dream? Nobody doubts that. But for folks in a different culture, that's a problem, as we see, just look at the headlines today. So consequently, again, when you get caught up in the need to be right, or the knee-jerk reaction that you're right, you're closed to new ideas. You don't let information in. You get trapped in your thinking. You get resistant to hearing new ideas. This is a great forum. TED is a great forum because people bring different ideas so that they can be aired and create a forum for a conversation, which is wonderful. My thing is not working here. Uh-oh. Now, see, it's resistant to change. See, the minute I say that,
Try to point it over toward that podium over there.
Oh, toward the podium, okay.
There you
I got it, okay. So the price of being right and the price of having these kinds of mindsets are, it reinforces our habitual patterns of thinking. We have learned through early in life to think a certain way. And what happens in the brain is when you think a certain way, the brain has certain highways that your thoughts travel down. There are pathways, neuronal pathways in the brain, and you get habituated to thinking a certain way. And the more you think that way, the more you think that way. And though it would seem that change is pretty impossible by the time you're 5, you can change that, you know, but it takes effort. It takes effort to move out of those pathways and into another way of thinking. It takes effort and takes practice. But as we as we believe a certain way or we think about things in a certain way, we make assumptions about the way other people are, the way we are, the way the world should be, the way other people should be, the way our wife should be, the way our husband definitely should be. Does anybody doubt the way he should be? Not a chance. Okay, so you take for granted the way the world is, the way things work. And again, the price of being right or staying stuck is you get stuck in a narrow point of view. It's difficult to take feedback. It's difficult to take criticism. You get some really difficult emotions you have to deal with. All arguments, if you think about it, all arguments, wars, conflicts are based in the need to be right. It's based on somebody's position. Listen, I want your country, too bad for you, we're taking your country. So, and go down from there. You're not taking out the garbage? I said take out the garbage 400 times. How many times do I have to say that? So it's that level of conflict and argumentation and difficulty that always ensues when you hang on to those perspectives. Again, the price of being right, no collaboration for communication. You can't talk to somebody. Once you hit that point of disagreement, it's really difficult to bridge that. I saw a TED Talk by a labor economist whose name is Myra Strober. And she talked about how difficult it is for people in different disciplines, in different fields, to communicate because they have different ways they measure and evaluate their research. They have different views of the world. They have different perspectives on how they measure truth. And to communicate with another discipline is difficult because you feel that the guy in the other discipline or the woman in the other discipline is really a little bit less sophisticated than you are, or less knowledgeable than you are. And the way they get their data anyway, we question that. So that interdisciplinary communication is in jeopardy just by the virtue of the fact that we're so caught up in how we think about things. Also, the price of being right is we start to do our lives on autopilot. Clearly, when we take for granted where we're at any given point on the highway, and we're just rolling along mile after mile, and we don't have a clue about what's happening, what exit we're at, where we should get off because we're planning next week or we're ruminating about the past, we feel a lot of emotions possibly that cloud our vision and our experience of what's happening right now. And, clearly that's not going to work out very well if she keeps doing that down the road several miles, right? So again, the price of being right or the price of staying stuck in your mindset is there's no opportunity for new ideas, new learning, new experience, for growth, for communication and collaboration. But the good news is, change is possible. This is the great news for all of us. We used to believe that by the time you were 4 or 5 at the most, your brain was set. That was it. It was over. What you got was what you got, and you weren't changing it. The new research in the field of neuroscience, especially the neuroplasticity of the brain, tells us that we can change the brain through the entire lifespan. Your last breath, you can still be changing your mind. So that the brain is flexible. We have the capacity to revitalize neuronal pathways that have atrophied a bit just by practice, by rehearsal, by learning new things, by experimentation. So we can do that. This is possible. We can change the very structure of the brain and the way we operate, the way we view the world. Neuroscientist Richard Davidson, who's a pioneer in the field of neuroscience and neuroplasticity of the brain, says the power of our minds to change our very genes may literally transform the field of health and well-being. You can do this. It takes effort, truly, it takes effort. And it takes practice, and it takes patience. But like Rick Elias talked about with the plane, where are you going? The only time we've got is right now. So the point is, now is the time to take a little bit of a chance and try some different approaches that may change some ways that you think and can translate into a sense of well-being and health. So some tips. Some tips on how you might start to just change some of the stuff that's going on 24/7. Be curious. Ask questions. Inquire. Don't take things for granted. Don't assume. Oh, I forgot that T on there. Oh. So you know what that means. Contemplate. Be reflective. Do you know, there's a big payoff in that. The research on being in the present moment that I'll talk about in a minute, being mindful, the research for the past 20 years is just exemplary in terms of what happens if you start to pay attention a little bit. Contemplate. Contemplative practices have been around for a long time, and they're still around. That means they have some value. So practice being in the present moment rather than running around on autopilot 24/7. Experiment with ways that will help you shift your mindset to step out of yourself. Practice being aware of each moment. This is not rocket science, do you know? This is all this means. It's not, you don't have to sit on a cushion and meditate for hours. All it means is just starting to pay attention. If you just sit, right? You're all sitting here, and if you just bring your attention to the fact that you're breathing. Everybody in this room, I guarantee you, is breathing. Truly. You might not feel it, but you really are. So if you can pay attention to that and just feel your connection with your chair, feel your contact with the chair and your feet on the floor. Just be here with this. Here, and notice the people, have awareness of the people around you, the people in back of you, the people in front of you. Just bring your awareness into this room. Don't worry about tomorrow's dinner. Don't worry about how ticked off you might be at your kid. You know, just be here right now, because this is it. You could walk out of there now, as we well know, and not come back the next day. So it's worth it to just try it. Change your perspective. To get a sense of another person's point of view, you've got to step out of your own. It's a quick mental imagery exercise that's really useful. It's adapted from Dr. Austin. And he talks about how just if you see somebody you're confused about, you just see them in your mind's eye, in your visual field in front of you. It might be your boss, your spouse, your kids. Just see somebody that you're having a difficult time with. See how you feel about when you see their picture in your mind. And then, as they're standing there in front of you, walk around. See them from the side view. See if they look any different. See how you feel. See if anything's changed. Walk around to the back. Look at them from the back view. Just check it out. Come around to the other side. See how they look from that side. Come around to the front. See what happens. For some people, that changes their perspective on what's going on with this person or what that relationship is like. Just experiment. That's all you need to do. So the benefits of changing your mind, well, you have an openness to new ideas, you have improved health and well-being, clearer, more meaningful communication, greater tolerance and understanding and compassion for yourself, which is a great thing to have, as well as others, better relationships with your family, your friends, and your community, and basically a better world. That's not bad. So I challenge you, change your mind. Just practice it. You'll be amazed at what might happen. Thanks.